EFF leader Julius Malema has concluded addressing supporters in Khayelitsha at the party's 12th anniversary celebrations. Joining us now, Vusi Gumbi, political analyst from the University of Johannesburg. Mr. Gumbi, good to have you. Thank you very much for your time. A 12-year-old party today, but when they were turning 10, I suppose the pomp and ceremony and the pageantry was quite big. Celebrations quite huge. 12 years on, I mean, looking at how they would have performed in the last national election, do you think they would have toned off, I suppose, of the pomp and ceremony?
Not necessarily. I think they are well aware that in politics, optics matter. I think, if I'm not mistaken, the plan was to host the anniversary celebrations in the Eastern Cape, but because of the floods, they had to redirect them into the Western Cape. And I think they are alive to the fact that it's a province that they do not have much support of, but they had to make it work, right? And logistically, it was a huge success. But I think from an optics point of view, it was well of them, to host it, sort of like, get a dome, a limited space and all of that, because, I mean, it's 12 years, but also because I don't think they also had enough time, the EFF, to now start thinking, or maybe of a bigger space and all of that. I'm not really sure in the Eastern Cape what were the plans, or whether, so maybe some of those things might have them changing from the Eastern Cape because of the floods to the Western Cape might have also affected their logistics team in terms of, starting afresh, with a new plan. So, but I think from an organizational point of view, from an optics point of view, I think they did fairly well.
Meeting in Khayelitsha, I mean, pretty much the Western Cape, a stronghold for the Democratic Alliance. Some touch points that they would have raised about the state, for example, of the social and economic situation of the people of Khayelitsha. I mean, those touch points, are they critical, I suppose, for mass following and lobbying that they would want to see?
I mean, I don't think they are, because if they were, the DA would have declined, right? I think it's well documented that there's a lot of inequality in the Western Cape, but still the DA continues to have, stronghold on power as per the 2024 elections. So I think that raises more questions about the electorate of the Western Cape, because I think they are well aware of the socio-economic issues that they are subjected to, the material conditions that they are subjected to, but still the DA continues to win. So I think from where I'm standing, I don't think those touching points would hit home, because you are talking to people that you're telling people about already the conditions that they are being subjected to. And last year they had a chance. I mean, speaking about the issue of the electorate, one would have assumed that because of the DA's position on the genocide in Gaza, they would have maybe lost some votes in the Western Cape, but that was contrary to what happened on the 29th of May. So I don't think talking about the material conditions of the people in the Western Cape would hit home, because those the people in the Western Cape had an opportunity to speak through the votes last year, and they voted for the DA.
Yeah, paraphrase some of what he would have said in the speech. I don't have it directly with me, but some of the shorthand that we would have in place. They talk of non-racialism, and they know deep down it's a lie, and that's why in Khayelitsha and Gugulethu there are potholes, darkness. The DA hates black people. The politics of race are still pretty much at the center, I suppose, of their messaging.
No, certainly. Remember, even when the EFF was formed 12 years ago, it sought to fill a vacuum, right? Their view as the leaders of the EFF was that the ANC is no longer a militant organization aimed at, the full emancipation of Africans. And so that has sort of become their identity, right? They're speaking to for the downtrodden, so to speak, the dejected masses of society. So, but again, race politics, maybe not so much, because again, if race politics were a thing in the Western Cape, the Patriotic Alliance would have done far much better than they did last year, right? Because we know that they held, I think, one of their major rallies was at Athlone Stadium, the Patriotic Alliance. So I think if race politics was a big thing for the Western Cape, the Patriotic Alliance would have done better. But we cannot then fault the EFF for talking about it, because that is sort of their identity as a political party, sort of like the vanguard of the people.
I suppose he's also well aware now that even the world, I mean, even those who are around the camp of Donald Trump are watching what he says with a keen eye, the UK, his visa issues and so on and so forth. So using this platform as a battleground to raise some of those geopolitical issues. Not only that, some of the key issues nationally, the Mkhunu matter, the KZN Commissioner, Lieutenant General Nhlanhla Mkhwanazi matter, the national dialogue matter coming up in that address.
Yeah, no, so certainly, right, he was expected to use this political address to touch on a variety of issues, but also it was for him also to affirm their positions of, as a party on a wide range of issues. I think this is the first major event they are having since, the President Ramaphosa's visit to the White House, since his UK visa was declined, and obviously 3 weeks ago the explosive, press briefing by General Mkhwanazi. So he also wanted to use this platform as the party celebrates its 12 years to reaffirm or even to state some of the party's positions on this wide range of issues, to say, look, it was sort of a propaganda victory for Malema, so to speak, to have his clips played in the White House, right? So it sort of like gave credence to his global influence, and the fact that the UK government denied his visa, it's like he feels that he's being vindicated as the leader of the people who's rejected by the West. So I think he wanted to drive those points home so that people are well aware that, this movement, this July 26 movement that started 12 years ago, is a well-oiled machine. And the fact that even Americans or, the English hate us is maybe proof, so to speak, that we're on the right track. So I think that's what he sought to do with, touching on some of those points.
A good launch point, in your view, for the upcoming local government elections, to launch that campaign there?
I mean, I think it's too early. I think local government elections will either be maybe late next year, possibly early 2027. So I'm not sure. Maybe I don't see how, because of time and space, the proximity, local calculating at this stage. So by the time the president declares the date, maybe people would have forgotten what he said in Khayelitsha. But I suppose they can still use other platforms. But I think maybe it might have been a little bit premature.
Right. Let's turn to other political issues, Mr. Gumbi, that, of course, are developing. I mean, speaking of the EFF, of course, some of the members that would have been initially in the EFF are those now in the Patriotic Alliance. And there seems to be something that is certainly happening within that organization as well. You've got the deputy president writing to the speaker of the city of Johannesburg saying, look, I am resigning from my position. I've done well as MMC for transport, but my party feels they want to investigate these allegations around me and why I was found in the home of this so-called suspect in the murder of DJ Somebody. I think these things are unfounded, but I've agreed to cooperate with the process, so I'm going to step aside from all public life and party activities to give them the chance to investigate until my name is cleared. And the party president saying pretty much the same thing. I met with the deputy president. He's agreed to step aside until he's cleared. What are you reading into that?
Well, to be quite honest, because I think as South Africans, we're not so used to, political leaders being held accountable. We're always used to excuses such as maybe the person has not been charged, or they're still being investigated, innocent until proven guilty. So on those bases, it feels, for lack of a better word, unreal, right? It feels that there's still more to it. It still feels like optics, but for the benefit of the reality that we're dealing with right now, he has stepped down. I think kudos to his political party for being firm, to say you are tarnishing the name of the party you have found in the home of this questionable character. Even the excuses that the explanation that he gave were so flimsy, right? It's as if he himself was hiding something. So I think maybe it's good for the party to say, look, step away from public duty, from party politics duty, until such time that you are cleared. But although that's what, so this is a case where I say two truths can exist. Although that's a good thing for the party, right? But the question is this optics? Is this trying to say we as a party hold our people accountable, or it's just throwing a can down the road? He'll resurface at some point, maybe after elections next year, or something along those lines. So right now, I think it's a matter of watch the space, because it's very difficult to see whether, because I guess maybe as a nation we're not used to politicians being held accountable, and this is a first where an MMC would resign and their party, and considering that him and Gayton are very, very close. So it's also very difficult to consider how this can be very, very genuine, but without obviously disputing the letter to say the man has resigned as a councillor, as an MMC, So it's like, okay, it's good that this person is being held accountable, but the question is, are these optics, or it's really genuine holding of a leader accountable?
Yeah, we've seen earlier in the year a breaking down of another relationship or friendship, if you like, in politics that nobody would have woken up and thought it was possible. I'm talking about the EFF leader Julius Malema and his deputy Floyd Shivambu. Are we seeing something similar to that?
I don't think so. I think, it's too soon to tell. It's something that you can't predict. No one even thought Floyd would and Julius would end up where they are today. But I believe that I don't think their friendship is at that level. Although we are, speculating at this stage, but it's going to depend on what are the outcomes of this investigation. And remember, I don't even think the police would also, let's say for argument's sake, maybe Kenny Kunene is somehow involved. I don't think the police themselves would want, to be compromised. I think they would want to act, especially with the commission now being announced by the president, the commission of inquiry, announced by the president to investigate corruption within SAPS and law enforcement agencies. So I think it's if really maybe he is implicated and he's got things to answer for, it might be difficult to see how the Patriotic Alliance or his friend Gayton would try to help him, so to speak, because the SEPs, I believe, as an institution, would want to ensure that they are not found with their pants down, right? On any issues, especially after the explosive allegation by Mkwanazi. So it's going to be very difficult to see, because again, I think Kenny Kunene's reason for being here today, having been suspended or even resigned, it's purely because of the reason he gave, that he was transporting a journalist there, so that was just a flimsy explanation. And now it begged the question, what more do you know? Because you can't even, as an MMC, give us this flimsy excuse. So I don't think he's been suspended because he was at that house. He could have easily said, I know this chap, but I don't know what he does when I'm not there. But the fact that he gave sort of like, it was a lie, so to speak. I think based on that, that's what questions are now being raised to say, what more is Kenny Kunene hiding? What more does he know, so to speak?
So you started off by mentioning, I suppose, the swift speed with which the party would have acted, but also the severe nature of the sanction that would have been meted out even before the investigation is complete. Never mind what would come after the investigation is complete. Those actions on their own, I suppose you would think of them as actions that Gayton McKenzie would be instituting to try and protect the integrity of the political party. Do they go far enough to insulate the Patriotic Alliance as a party from integrity questions?
Perhaps they may, but the biggest challenge is that for the Patriotic Alliance as a political party, it's a two-man show, right? We know that, Gayton McKenzie runs a tight ship alongside Kenny Kunene. So it's very difficult to see how it's very difficult to see how they reached this decision to say, because even when he kept saying it over the course of the last week, a lot of people thought that no, these people are friends, he's not going to do anything. And even now that he has acted, it's still difficult to see how genuine this is, right? Especially from a point of view of their friendship, but maybe from a political party, it might help them, give them some propaganda victory to say, look, our party does not associate with the people who are found to wrongdoing and things like that. However, this will only work if, for instance, Kenukunene is found innocent. The question is, what if Kenukunene is found guilty and a lot of things are unraveled? Then what then happens of the Patriotic Alliance as a political party, his friendship with Gayton McKenzie? Because, it's this question of, beyond politics, we're still brothers. So that idea of how are we going to help each other, behind closed doors? So it depends also. This is a good act from a public point of view, accountability point of view. It's all well and good. But then in the long term, what if Kenukunene is found guilty? Then what happens to the Patriotic Alliance as an institution? So it's going to all of this is all speculative, depending also on what happens over the course of the next few months, or few years, even depending on how long such investigations will take.
Vusi Gumbi, I appreciate your time. That's political analyst from the University
Thank
of
you.
Johannesburg there on some of those political issues key that have certainly been developing.